Swimming is one of those albums that sticks with you no matter what. Ever since my first listen, I knew there was something different about this album, something that drew me to it. I don't know if it's the lyrics that foreshadow his own death or the raw vulnerability of the album that just speaks to you. The music itself is beautiful, but the story it tells is even richer. It's not one that's very happy, but one that's extremely real, detailing his struggles and shortcomings since his rise to fame. I was one of those people who never really listened to Mac Miller before his death, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets, becoming a fan after his passing. And due to this, the way that I thought about swimming was scary. The lows it reached were ominous, considering his death was but a month away. However, when I look at the release in context to what was happening to Mac at the time, his DUI crash and his very public split with Ariana Grande, the album was a sign of recovery. Come Back to Earth, the opening track of the album, almost outright says it.
And I was drowning, but now I'm swimming. Too stressful.
So in January of 2020, almost a year and a half after his unfortunate passing, we were gifted with Circles, a project Mac was working on right before his death, and what we were given was nothing short of a masterpiece. Prior to his death, Mac was already working hard with producer John Bryan on his follow-up album. This record, eventually labeled Circles, would be seen as a sister record to Swimming. Two different styles, complementing each other, completing a circle. Swimming in circles was the concept. Mac's family explained on an Instagram post. John continued to finish the album after the artist's untimely death, working on ideas the two had shared, and with the family's blessing, the new and final album was released posthumously at the beginning of 2020. And the way Swimming and Circles interact with each other is nothing short of genius, and a true testament to Mac Miller. To understand the brilliance of Swimming in Circles, you've got to put it into perspective of Mac's discography and the evolution of his music. Kids in some of his earlier albums are fast and quick. Mac had always wanted to shed this perception of him by the media, that he's a rapper so all he can do is rap, seen through his release of a jazz album under his jazzy alter ego Larry Fisherman. And he didn't stop there, as he shifted those fast raps into intricate lyrical poetry, going on to analyze the very fabric of love on the very intimate, divine feminine. And as you can see, there's a clear musical progression shown. As the years have gone on, he's showing more maturity, especially through his music, discussing more serious and real themes throughout his albums. And this culminated on Swimming in Circles. Swimming as an album expresses Miller's dark times and harrowing lows, but those lows are only redeemed and balanced out by the lyrical optimism that is shown within Circles. The two not contrasting off one another, but showing true self-growth and self-love. One of the main themes throughout both albums is self-growth and acceptance. This on Swimming is mostly highlighted through song Self-Care, and I think what Mac was trying to say is that we have to take care of ourselves before we can worry about other people, and that's a sentiment shared on Circles, as the album progresses into a sense of reflection, solace and growth. Circles is very much intentionally designed to loop back to Swimming. This idea harkens back to Swimming's dark closer, So It Goes, describing life as,
my God, it go on and on, just like a circle, I go back where I'm from.
It's a chilling lyric that reinforces the point of the circle, with the circles and cycles of life being a main focus on both albums. The lyrics are blunt and jaded, ending his final solo release on a somber note. Circles directly picks up where Swimming left off with its opener, furthering the concept of the cycle of life. Mac feeling directionless, whether it be his sobriety or his attempt to change his ways. It always seems futile, that no matter how high he goes and how much he changes, he will eventually relapse and experience that same low. Both albums constantly remind us that he cannot change. No matter how much he tries and attempts self-growth, he will always fall back into the same bad habits that hurt him and the ones around him. And just like Swimming, on the closer Once a Day, Mac dedicates this song to the cycle of life. But this time, there's more maturity, as he seems to almost come to terms with it in this emotional track. Each word stinging as he describes the rising and setting of the sun as a constant reminder to the trap he's in. He questions why everyone is rushing and not taking their time, when the cycle will continue no matter what. And that's the beauty of it. The major difference between the mentality and attitude between not just the two albums, but the two closers. Both albums establish this conflict within himself, between this newfound optimism and hope, and his ever-present challenges with depression, isolation, and addiction. And it's something that a lot of people can find meaning in and relate to. The difference between the two albums is fully highlighted through Mac's use of water. Throughout the tracks on Swimming, Mac uses the motif of drowning in water consistently in order to represent his struggles with drug addiction and heartbreak, attempting to overcome them by swimming to shore. But on the Circles track Surf, Mac is above the water, and therefore has a more positive perspective. Now that he's no longer drowning, he views water as a source of life and personal growth, directly showing that conflict again within him. Swimming and Circles are both centered on depression, addiction, and self-growth, and exploring the anxieties and consequences that come with it. But Circles offers so much more of an optimistic look than his companion. On Swimming track Come Back to Earth, Mac raps,
I just need a way out. My head, I'll do anything for a way out. My head.
and Circle directly responds to this predicament. Across multiple songs, he's spring cleaning on Good News and recognizes that it's getting pretty cluttered and it's hard to clean up the mess he's made in his head. Throughout Circles, Mac is cleaning up a lot, whether it be his head or his public image. There's that acknowledgement that he needs to change, and there's at least a desire to do it. Circles addresses the issues faced on Swimming, acknowledging them and at least making an attempt to fix them. And although he hasn't fully repaired all his issues on Circles, seen through the same exhaustion that coats every lyric on Swimming, it offers a subtle but gentle hope. Where Swimming considers living in the long term, Circles takes itself one day at a time, each day attempting to get a little bit better, even if you're only going to relapse, providing a yin and yang type dynamic between the two albums, balancing each other out perfectly. And I think the type of music is also important, as on Circles, he's not rapping. He's singing these lyrics with a natural sense of melody and mood. It's so calming and raw. Circles has proven to be the perfect complement to Swimming. Swimming is the story of Mac's acceptance of his flaws and his unsuccessful attempt to fix them. Circles transitions these shortcomings into a resurrection story, not one of triumph, but one of contentness, in the face of insecurity and burnout. And that's the beauty in the companion albums. They intertwine in a way that shows Mac's true genius. But more than anything, Swimming in Circles is a story of a man's attempt at self-growth, even if it's in vain. And that's what makes the two albums so special.